Hi, welcome back. I am Naren, and in this vlog, we will continue our discussion on The Art of War by Sun Tzu and how we can apply that to the game of chess. So, till now, in the previous videos, we discussed till chapter 4 tactical dispositions, and in this video, we will be covering on energy. So we will be discussing more about how each side with its pieces are be considered as an army will have an inherent force or energy, and how you build, control and release that energy through attack or improving your position on the opponent, and how it is important to the play of chess. So Sun Tzu said, control of a large force is the same principle as the control of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers. Fighting with a large army under your command is no wise different from fighting with a small one. It is merely a question of instituting signs and signals. So whether you have more pieces or few pieces in the board, you should apply similar principles in dealing with them. So note that it's not like you should blindly attack when you have more pieces. So you should just aim like this is what these signs or signals. You should have proper rules that you can follow, like developing each piece, like concentrate on each piece and develop it. It's not like you should worry too much about all the pieces. So just apply these principles to each piece so that you can control even if there are many pieces in the board. Like develop each piece, find the best square for them, like find more activity for each piece, and also like just keeping more threats on the board for your opponent, and also like focusing on a flank or a center, like trying to divide your task into smaller problems to deal with. Sun Tzu said, to ensure that your whole host may withstand the brunt of the enemy's attack and remain unshaken, this is effected by maneuvers direct and indirect. That the impact of your army may be like a grindstone dashed against an egg. This is effected by the signs of weak points and strong. In all fighting, the direct method may be used for joining battle, but indirect methods will be needed in order to secure victory. Indirect tactics, efficiently applied, are inexhaustible as heaven and earth. Unending as the flow of rivers and streams, like the sun and moon, they end but to begin anew. Like the four seasons, they pass away to return once more. So this talks about the strategy of deception. Like you should make your opponent believe that they have figured out your strategy and moves, but wait for the right moment of maximum impact and then surprise them with your unexpected strike. So you should always try to look out for some ideas, some strategy that is more visible to the opponent, whereas at the same time your real strategy should be hidden so that you can surprise them later on. It's also more like having multiple strategies which you can parallelly drive and also delay, so that you can actually take one action or the final action at the last minute where your opponent won't be ready to handle it. So like make use of weak squares or weak pieces and positions in the opponent's area, and make use of your initiatives, your tactics and keeping threats. Sun Tzu said, in battle there are not more than two methods of attack: the direct and indirect. Yet these two in combination give rise to an endless series of maneuvers. The quality of decision is like the well-timed swoop of a falcon, which enables it to strike and destroy its victim. Energy may be linked to the bending of a crossbow, decision to the releasing of a trigger. So you should always try to hide your intentions and try for direct and indirect approach in parallel. As I said, as much as possible, try to make sure that your opponent doesn't find out your motive. But at the same time, you should give out hints so that they will be diverted to something else. Build for the final blow. Like, you should group your pieces slowly. Piece placement improvement should happen. You should build your threats. You should try to create multiple weaknesses in your opponent's playing field, and then prepare for that final blow. So it's improving position slowly, and timing of unleashing of the final attack is key. Sun Tzu said, "Thus one who is skillful at keeping the enemy on the move maintains deceitful appearances according to which the enemy will act. He sacrifices something that the enemy may snatch at it. By holding out baits, he keeps him on the march. Then, with a body of picked men, he lies in wait for him. The clever combatant looks to the effect of combined energy and does not require too much from individuals. Thus, the energy developed by a good fighting man is as the momentum of a round stone rolled down a mountain thousands of feet in height." So this talks about how you can use peace pawn sacrifices and play with compensation for that, or with the initiative, or how we can play dynamically with multiple strategies by making your pieces more active, grouping them, and having a lot of patience for the right moment to unleash your attack on your opponent's king and the pieces. So that's a brief overview of the energy. So till now we have covered till chapter 5 energy, and in the future videos we will cover from chapter 6 and onwards. And if you find this useful, please like, subscribe and share, and thanks for watching.